We recognize Mr. Bonner for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as others have said, thank you for holding this hearing, and to our witnesses, thank you. I think it's been very enlightening. The questions have been thoughtful, and the responses have certainly been appropriate, I think, to help answer some of the questions about this very important program. There have been several comments made by some of our colleagues, Mr. Chairman, and so I'm going to try to ask one question of the Admiral, and then I'm going to let him answer it, but I'm going to offer a quick observation before he does. One of the comments was that it appears that LCS might be of little value to the Asia pivot strategy. And so my question would be, what else does the Navy do in the South Pacific beside planning on fighting big wars? I mean, are there not any other missions that the Navy does? And you can think about that as I'm opining about some other facts. I mean, I don't know I'm in the last few days of my tenure in Congress. I've worked up here for 18 years. I've served for 10 years. It's been the greatest honor of my life. One thing that I have been struck by is the fact that we really never know when we wake up what the day holds. And I certainly can't look into my crystal ball. I don't know if the GAO can. My father worked for the GAO when he was going to law school a long, long time ago. So I hold you in great respect. But I don't know that any of us are really that qualified to predict what the world's challenges are. But here are some facts. There are 217,000 miles of inshore coastline, the littorals around the world. Our Navy can't be every place, obviously, but only our Navy, only our military can provide the stability that the world needs. And it's hard for me to see, and I know the Chairman has talked about the concern he has, and many of us have, about the decreasing number in the fleet. We've got, what, 285 ships today? I was with the former Navy Secretary a few weeks ago who worked for President Reagan when we were shooting for a 600 fleet Navy. So does a ship like the LCS, my friend and colleague from California talked about a comparison between the Ferrari and the Lamborghini. I would say that the LCS isn't either. Not compared to the cruisers, to the destroyers, and other ships that we have, which are also a vital part, but I would say it's probably more like a Malibu or a Taurus. It provides a function, especially in those inshore waters, that perhaps we don't need the more expensive Lamborghini or Ferrari to provide that mission. So I would be happy to now ask the question and get the Admiral or any of the panelists to provide an answer.
Congressman, thank you for that question. It's a very insightful one, and it speaks exactly to the way I think that the Navy over the next decade or two is going to contribute directly to our national defense. The Navy does more than fight wars. Ideally, we will shape and understand an area that we're operating in and prevent the conflict. We do that by contact. We do that by contact with other nations. To have contact, we must have presence. Your comments on being out and about, I think, are exactly right. The influence that we have by having proportional capability with nations around the world is absolutely essential. That's how you develop the relationships, develop trust and confidence between the nations. There is some question in the Western Pacific right now on the resolve of the United States. The presence of freedom in Singapore is being used by Admiral Haney, our Fleet Commander in Pearl Harbor, and by Admiral Swift, the 7th Fleet Commander out there, and they see great value. The ship operates by exercises and by conducting operations with those national partners out there, and what we are getting in feedback is that it resonates with those potential partner nations, and they see that as commitment of the United States to be in the region, and that contributes directly to increased stability. So one of the key advantages that we get from LCS is the unit cost is low, the number of people manning them and still providing credible combat power is low, which is good for life cycle costs, and the ability to operate at sea and the manning construct that we use of having 2 ships, 3 crews, and rotating them gives us about 50% op tempo, which is much higher than the standard 1/3 that we get. So for about 52 LCS, I get the equivalent presence of about 100 destroyer or cruiser ships. And I would offer that the smaller ship, the lower draft, allows us to reach many of the places that we can't get in and develop that contact and relationship with others right now. Vitally important. You can only do that if the nations you operate respect that credible combat power. That's what you get right now on that first increment of LCS surface warfare module. That is exactly what you'll get with the MCM mission module, which will be hugely important and send a signal in the Fifth Fleet area of responsibility. And I'm confident we'll see the same thing with the anti-submarine module. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And this committee would like to thank Mr. Bonner for his service. We know you'll be leaving us soon and get to sleep in your bed more instead of traveling back and forth, but you've done a great job for your constituents and for your country, and we appreciate that service.